I would like this morning to discuss what is simplicity, and perhaps from that arise at the discovery of sensitivity. We seem to think that simplicity is merely an outward expression, a withdrawal, having few possessions, loincloth, having no home, put on few clothes, have a little bank account. Surely that is not simplicity. That's merely an outward show. And it seems to me simplicity is essential. And simplicity can only come into being when we begin to understand the significance of self-knowledge, which we'll be discussing, as we have discussed previously, for the next, till the end of August. The question of simplicity is not mere adjustment to a pattern. It requires a great deal of intelligence to be simple. Not merely conforming to a particular pattern, however worthy outwardly, but it requires a great deal of intelligence to find out what it is, how it is to be simple. Unfortunately, most of us begin by being simple externally, in outward things. It's comparatively easy to have few things and to be satisfied with few things, to be content with little, and perhaps to share that little with others. But mere outward expression of a simplicity in things, in possession, surely does not imply the simplicity of inward being. Because as the world is at present, life is becoming more and more complex. More and more things are being urged upon us, outwardly, externally. And life is becoming more and more complex. And in order to escape from that, we try to renounce or to be detached from these things, from cars, from houses, from organizations, from cinemas and innumerable outward thrusts upon us. And we think we shall be simple by withdrawing. Great many saints, great many teachers have renounced the world. And it seems to me that such renunciation on the part of any of us does not solve the problem. Simplicity can only come into being inwardly, and then from that an outward expression of that inward simplicity, which is much more fundamental, much more real. How to be simple then is the problem. Because from that simplicity one arrives at being more and more sensitive. A sensitive mind and a sensitive heart is essential, but then it's capable of quick perception, quick reception. So, one can be simple only, surely inwardly, by understanding the very innumerable impediments, attachments, fears in which one is held. But most of us like to be held by the people, by possessions, or by ideas. We like to be prisoners. Inwardly we are prisoners, though outwardly we seem very simple. Inwardly we are prisoners to our desires, to our wants, to our ideals, to the innumerable motivations. And simplicity cannot be found unless one is free inwardly. Therefore it must begin inwardly first, not outwardly. As we were discussing yesterday afternoon, the freedom from belief. Surely there is an extraordinary simplicity, extraordinary freedom when one understands the whole process of belief, why the mind is attached to a belief. And when there is a freedom from belief, there is surely a simplicity. But that simplicity requires intelligence. And to be intelligent, one must be aware of one's own impediments. And to be aware, one must be constantly on the watch. Not be established in any particular groove, in any particular pattern of thought or action. Because after all, what one is inwardly does affect the outer. The modern society or any form of action is the projection of ourselves. And without transforming inwardly, mere legislation outwardly has very little significance. It may bring about certain reformation, certain adjustment outwardly. But what one is inwardly is always overcoming the outer. If one is greedy inwardly, ambitious, pursuing certain ideals with all its complexity, that eventually does upset, overthrow, however carefully planned the outward society may be. So surely one must begin within, not exclusively, not rejecting the outer. Because you come to the inner, surely by understanding the outer, by finding out how the conflict, the struggle, the pain exists outwardly. And as one investigates more and more into it, naturally one comes into the psychological state which produce these outward conflicts and miseries. The outward expression is only an indication of our inward state. But to understand the inward state, one must approach through the outer. Most of us do that. And in understanding the inner, not exclusive, not rejecting the outer, but understanding the outer coming upon the inner, then we will find that as one proceeds to investigate the inward complexities of our being, one becomes more and more simple, free. It is this inward simplicity that is so essential. Because That simplicity creates sensitivity. Because a mind that is not sensitive, not alert, not aware, is incapable of any receptivity, any creative action. That's why I said, conformity as a means of making ourselves simple is really making the mind and heart dull, insensitive. Any form of authoritarian compulsion imposed externally by the government or by oneself or by the ideal of achievement and so on, any form of conformity must make for insensitivity, for not being simple, inwardly. Outwardly you may conform and give the appearance of simplicity, as so many religious people do. They practice various disciplines, join various organizations, meditate in a particular fashion and so on, all giving an appearance of simplicity. But such conformity does not go for simplicity, does not make for simplicity. Any kind of compulsion can never be simple. On the contrary, the more you suppress, the more you substitute, the more you sublimate, the less simplicity. But the more you understand the process of sublimation, suppression, and substitution, the greater the possibility of being simple. Because our problems are so complex. Social, environmental, political, religious are so complex that we can only solve it by being simple, not by becoming extraordinarily erudite and clever. Because a simple person sees much more directly, has an experience more direct than the complex person. And as our minds are so crowded with infinite knowledge of facts, of what others have said, that we are becoming incapable of being simple and having direct experience ourselves. And as these problems demand a new approach, and it can be approached only when we are simple, really inwardly simple. And that simplicity can come only through self-knowledge. Understanding ourselves, the ways of our thinking and feeling, the movements of our thoughts, our response, how we conform through fear, through public opinion, what others say, what the Buddha, Christ, great saints have said, which all indicate our nature to conform to the